for quite a few people, though. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good.
Okay, so we're recording now?
Yep.
Maybe we should give it a few more minutes.
Well, we can just start sitting in silence.
Okay.
Do that for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we think we're still waiting for some people, so we're going to start off and sit in silence, sit quietly for about 5 minutes.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I thought this morning maybe we'll start off by thinking about the idea. We often talk about how incredible awakening is, how it shifts, your shifts creates a better reality, which ultimately is true. But let's talk about how destructive it is today, instead of how wonderful it is, just for a change. Let's take another approach. Enlightenment is very destructive, awakening. Because as soon as we begin to contemplate a past or a future, we recognize that they don't exist. So if you can just stop for a moment and think to yourself, or feel into this, who am I if I don't have a past or future? And stop. Do this. What most of you will get to is just the feeling that I am. That's it. Now ask yourself, who am I when there is no I am? And the obvious answer is nothing. And this is where it can get a little bit tricky, because everything that we are or think we are is dependent on our memories and our concepts and our belief systems and the things that we have become very attached to being. And here all of a sudden are two people sitting in front of you, as well as many that have come before us and many that will come after us, and your own intelligence itself, which is going to say to you, well, what does it all mean then? Can I believe my own thoughts? Can I believe my own ideas or concepts if they don't really exist? And it's very disruptive, and it can be very scary, because you don't have a reference point anymore. And you just suddenly find yourself this. And you can't even put a word to it because it doesn't even have any kind of substance. It just is. And if you can stay there, that reality starts to awaken. That reality starts to open up. That now. Because it's now. It's always here. And, I've had an interesting week in that, for whatever reason, there have been a ton of students that are finding this to be a very destructive process. They're not having the easiest time. They're finding that their story is falling apart. And they don't know what to do with themselves. They're afraid. And that's common. So I guess remind yourselves that the future is always now. The past is always now. And we can understand this in theory, but when you really examine it, and it's not about my telling you what it is, or no one can tell this, no one can explain it. You have to have that existential experience of really looking. And then what starts to happen is you stop believing the story. And you stop believing the concepts. It's not that the story or the thoughts or the ideas or the past and the future don't come up. They will, of course. It just doesn't matter. And that's when you start to find the ground again, in now, this, and appreciate it for what it is, because it's precious. The seeking is the idea that we can't stay here. So we have to seek. It can't possibly be this. So we have to seek or meditate or get to the next blissful experience, the next whatever. And that's where we actually go wrong. Let me just see. Existential experience is the most important part. There is no one that can give you enlightenment. There isn't a book, there isn't a meditation practice, there isn't a teacher. It's impossible. No one can hand it to you. You have to get there yourself. You have to realize it yourself. We give you pointers. All the teachers give you pointers. God bless them. But it's up to you. You have to keep on looking. You have to keep on just going in.
Enlightenment has to be destructive, or awakening has to be destructive, because it's destroying the false. So whatever can be destroyed was never really real. The true, your true self is here now. And it's like a diamond. You have it, but it's covered with dirt. It's in the palm of your hand. And removing the false is just removing the dirt. And it's different for everybody. Each person has a different path. There is no one way. But you have the diamond now. You are the diamond now. And so, the search is based upon a seeker. And the fundamental scene is that the seeker is not the real you. That's not the real you. The seeker is seeking to be free or have bliss or love or whatever they define enlightenment as, this future result, this future outcome, this future benefit. But in fact, there is what we call end of seeking, meaning you're burned out on seeking. It didn't give you what you expected. You went to India 6 times and you saw all these teachers, did all these things. And here you still are, still seeking. So what is that seeking really? You see, that seeking, like Ananda was saying, is anything to get out of here. And the first movement to get out of here, to not be here, is the seeker himself or herself. That movement out from this moment to become a self-conscious entity that thinks about itself as separate. And this was imposed on us when we were very little, a baby, a little child, by our parents, by society, by the church, by the school. We're taught by the other that we exist as a separate entity, but it's just a mental construct. It's just fictional. And in fact, everything we feel that's real about us is our true self, because our true self is not based on thoughts. So any thought-based entity, in other words, one based on the past or the future, based on memory, is not you. There's an invisible support, a pure presence, the isness, that is the rock-solid foundation for everything that you're experiencing as yourself. The thoughts come and go. You could not possibly be the thoughts or anything defined by the thoughts. So the search itself is misleading. You're not searching to find something. You're searching in order to find the truth about the search, to find out that the search doesn't work. Seeking doesn't work. So you turn around and look back and go, who is seeking? Who am I? Finally, you ask, who is this I? Where is it? What is it? That's when you start to realize what's going on, and that's the end of seeking, is the end of the seeker. So I want to take a moment, just to let that sink in. Okay, are you still seeking, or have you gotten to the point to where now you're extremely curious about who is a seeker? So you're not so much caught up in seeking as investigating the nature of the seeker, of this I that wants something, that wants an outcome, that is seeking something other than this moment, whether this moment is positive, negative, or neutral, pleasant, unpleasant, or just okay. Is there really anything wrong with this moment, you see? So I just want you to check. Are you still seeking? Or are you at least looking at who is seeking? And this was the great teaching of Ramana Maharshi, okay? To turn, not just do your pranayama or your yoga or your vegetarianism, but to turn back and look, who is the seeker? Who am I? Okay, so I want you to ask yourself that question. Are you really actually looking at who am I? Who is the seeker? Or are you still caught up in seeking? Let's just take a moment. Now, thanks to the rasa, when you're at end of seeking, and that is when we work one-on-one with people, we're fortunate to get lots of people who are at end of seeking. They may have a typical scenario, somebody who's meditated for many years, they got to a certain point and they're stuck. And they now realize that even though the meditation was helpful, and of course it really was, it could only take them so far. And now they need something else, something beyond their own power. So the rasa is an example of something that can act as an intervention, that can bring in that extra something.
I want to add to that.
Yes.
As far as the rasa is concerned, because many people get confused about the rasa itself. It's not really, we do get to a point that we understand that we can't do this ourselves. That's usually when we go find a teacher, they become desperate. What the rasa does is really put you in touch with that which you are. And the false, it's like moving the debris away. It's clearing the debris. It's clearing the baggage. It's clearing the crap that has just created the seeker. The notion that you're separate, the notion that you're little me and there's that great big world out there. And the rasa does that. It can be quick or very slow. It just depends. We don't know. But it's important for you to recognize that what you are seek is really seeking you. I mean, I know that's a Rumi quote. In fact, it's one of my favorite Rumi quotes. He is one of my favorite poets. Because you are that. Who's trying to get this other than self, trying to recognize itself? And what stands in the way? Your beliefs and your concepts and your ideas that you can't possibly be that now. And it's just so simple.
You are that now.
And then you get to transform the mundane world that you're seeing before you into paradise itself. That's your power. You get to actually recognize that you are part of divinity, the life force that is intelligently running the whole of existence at every given point, including right now. The only thing that stops you from really owning it and seeing it and understanding it is your notion that this can't possibly be it.
Yeah, stop thinking for a moment.
Yes.
Forget about thoughts. If thoughts arise, ignore them.
And if they arise or something difficult arises within one's life, and there are things, people get sick, people get upset, their marriages break down, their relationships don't work, all sorts of things happen. But when you recognize that you are literally, it's like a guest house, and you can just welcome the anger, welcome the sadness, welcome the emotions, without trying to get rid of them, without trying to change them, without trying to be different to what you are as an individual. They will leave. They will disappear, right? I mean, just that awareness itself will help them disappear.
They're all the guests. They come and then they go.
But what never doesn't go? And it's so subtle. There's that which never comes and goes. There's that is always right here. All the rest comes and goes. Mystical experiences come and go. beauty, this, whatever. It's just, and then it becomes a song. and it's fantastic, actually. You know, I've had a really difficult 2 years. It hasn't been pleasant. My existential experience has been rough. Everything I've understood has dissolved. My reality as I knew it to be is not the same reality that it was 2 years ago. My manifestation, should I say. And I let it be a nightmare. I allowed the nightmare to take place, and it's passed. Could I stop it? No, but I could dwell on it. I just don't dwell. That's the nature of experience. Happy, sad, good, bad, yippee, not so yippee. Who cares? That's the story. But when you become just, what's the word? Cemented in your knowingness, the story is able to just happen. And you are that in which it all happens.
You want to open it up for questions?
Yes.
Okay, let's open it up for questions.
Okay, so Paul Craft, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay. Hello, lovely people.
Hi.
Thanks for being here. So, can you see me?
Yes, hi, Paul. The file left.
Hi.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The question I have is, during those moments of self-inquiry meditation, even the question, who am I can't even get to that now, because it's like, who is the apparent I? Because I know it's not me. So I'm like, well, who is the one that's doing this, or pretends to be, or is appearing to do this, even though I know it's not? And I'm kind of getting into this frustrating loop of saying, well, this can't make sense. It doesn't make sense, because there is no one seeking, there is no seeker. So what am I to do?
Well, you're asking a very classic question, and I do have a book called Who Am I Meditation, which is about self-inquiry, and it's based on working with hundreds of people and coaching through the self-inquiry process. And what people don't realize is that the who am I question, or that kind of a question, like who's having this experience right now, or whatever, however you phrase it, is just a tool to get you to the point to recognize exactly what you are talking about, at which point then the sadhana changes into dropping into the heart, into silence, into stillness, into pure being, into pure I am. And then the practice is essentially stillness and silence, or the no thought state.
Okay.
And once you recognize that the thoughts are a dog chasing its tail, and that when I go, who am I, it refers to a thought I, but that's not your real I. Then you relax back into, drop into what may be felt in the heart, or just may be felt to be awareness or something, but that is actually your true I. So the whole thing's a trick question.
Yeah.
There is no actual answer in terms of words. It's to find the uselessness of words and then drop into the silence that remains. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Okay. No, that's great, because intuitively I'm doing that, but it's just this, it is the overthinking process of going, but shouldn't I be following this two-punch process? And, I'm getting there. It's like, they're just words. It means
important.
nothing.
Well, it's important to get the validation from the teacher or coach that it's okay to let the verbalization go. And then there's also a free download. So what is it called? It's by Sadhu Om, and it's the Path to Sri Ramana Part 1, and it's the part on Jnana Yoga. And Chapter 8 is especially good in terms of, he points out it's all about just getting to that silence.
Right. Okay.
So being in the thought-free state doesn't actually mean you have no thoughts. Although it may. It means that your relationship to thoughts is spacious. So you can, anyway, that's a whole other subject. So if you haven't read the book, please do so.
I haven't, but that's kind of where I am. My relationship to thoughts is now a spacious one. That's exactly.
Yeah, and then when you go deeper, then you begin to see how thoughts originate from the silence. The silence is like a womb or source for the thoughts, and so you recognize this paradoxical truth that all these thoughts that have been such a problem actually emerge from silence, and ultimately are the silence. But this is the advanced, understanding that you come to, and then of course you're free of thoughts because all the thoughts are indeed the silence is yourself, and I am that, and then that's the holistic solution. Everything is the self, but that's what you get to when you are able to get to the origin of thought. Yeah, which is what inquiry is about. Then your true identity is not thought, but the source of thought, which is not thought based and is the isness itself that we've been talking about.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, somebody else, please. Good question.
If there isn't a question, I'll add.
Yes, I have.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Michelle. It's been a while. How are you?
Hi, Ramaji. I'm fine. I'm fine. What I have been doing lately is focusing on a kind of a mantra, and I made up one. Nisargadatta, I am that. I am that. And I connected with my breathing. I am that. Nisargadatta Maharaj, I am that. I am that. What it does is, for me, it kind of pushes the mind. You could say it is a mind construction, but it pushes all the thoughts into the waiting room, because it's the mantra that is being repeated. But I noticed then that when I have done that for some time, that the mind cannot wait to rush in with a pack of new thoughts, a pack of like, now it's our turn, now we want it. But I don't know where I'm going with this, but this is what I have been doing to see.
It's a good practice, because the nature of the mind is always to think. It will never stop having its nature. It's to think and to understand and to make sense of. It's not so much that you have to still it versus just understanding its nature and pay no attention to it.
Yeah, what you're discovering is the reality of the situation as a human being. You're going to continue to have thoughts. It is the nature of your brain to produce thoughts. So, you've got an experiment that you're conducting. And the experiment is, hey, I'm doing something really cool that really quiets the mind. But then as soon as I stop doing it, lo and behold, there's all these thoughts that want to show up. And there is, I think for some people, meditators, there's an implicit assumption that, quote unquote, thoughts are bad. I'm not supposed to have thoughts somehow, because you hear that the problem is because you're thinking and you have concepts. So I shouldn't have those then. But as Ananda is saying, it's actually not about that. It's about understanding that, to actually be with the thoughts as they arise, and if you don't judge them, but you accept them. See, what we're saying, what we're quote unquote teaching, is all embracing acceptance and approval of everything that arises exactly as it is. And what's going on is people are not actually experiencing it as it is. They're not actually experiencing the moment. So you see, so you're creating a helpful situation. But when the thoughts rush in, you see, you're going, oh, I just lost my special state. But really, you can't lose something you already have, and that is yourself.
Yeah.
So really, you can continue to meditate and continue to be present, even if there's lots of thoughts, because you are not your thoughts. And you can, if your mind stops for 30 seconds, you're still here. If you have no thinking going on, you're still here. You're still feeling, you still have emotions, your body works, your senses work. everything's fine. You don't actually need thoughts to do anything. So that's what you want to see. Then when you have the thoughts, then they're okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, so I guess an answer to your question is, if you have the expectation that utilizing meditation, you will be able to stop your thoughts completely, then that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
In fact, that's not even something you really want. Because I read about this one guy who succeeded, and he turned basically into a rock. I mean, the guy couldn't function.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you don't really want that.
No.
So I don't know. Is that helpful, Michelle?
Very helpful, yes. Because thank you.
The other thing that you can do, which is very helpful, is you just try to begin to welcome your thoughts and really spinning off. Because, you know, when you do that, it becomes a really golden opportunity for each of you to like uncover and undo, you know, all those, you know, questions and assumptions that you have. Instead of trying to become, get into a thought-free state, accept the thoughts and welcome the thoughts. Then you start to recognize the nature of their impermanence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a subtle rejection.
That point, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Instead of asking, who am I thought, I turned around, I said, I don't ask, who am I say, I am that.
Exactly.
I don't know what is that, but I say, I am that.
And we're saying, take it all the way. We're saying, I am that means every single thing that arises. You see?
Yes. Yeah.
I am that. Okay, I have all these thoughts coming in, and they're about this, that, or the other thing. Could be a judgment thought, could be a worry thought, could be a looking forward to something exciting thought, whatever. I am that. I am that. I am that. I am that.
Exactly. To know
and the paradox is when you actually do that, you realize you're that which is not that. You realize you're that. If I am that which can embrace each new that arises, then I am a that is universal and unchanging and is the basis for all the little that's. In other words, I'm the ocean and these are the waves.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you.
That's
Great.
That's what you come to. But as long as you judge and push away and condemn various thoughts because they're not spiritual or whatever, guess what? The joke's on you because that is you. You're actually pushing yourself away.
Have to.
Yeah. There's no other choice except, resistance is futile, as they say in Star Trek.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you're resisting yourself, ultimately.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, somebody else, step on up. We much prefer to answer your questions, and we don't really have that much to say, so.
I have an question.
Yes? Who's talking?
Sonny. Sonny?
Uh-huh.
Hi.
Hi.
My experience was amazing, and I wanted to tell you about it. But it's not on topic. Do you want to save it?
Oh, no, go ahead. Please.
No, it's all right.
Change the topic. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the first rasa, I didn't feel much until 10 minutes in it. So the second rasa, I said, I want to feel from the very beginning. But then I had an outrageous headache that the whole night time. And so I realized, Mother Divine knows exactly how much to give you. But then by Monday, I was out on the deck watching the bulldozers build this another house, and I had this incredible constriction in my heart, and I just worked with it, and all of a sudden, as I did, it dissipated. It was better, and then I saw this huge, beautiful white egg. And I took the egg and I just cracked it open. And all of a sudden the egg just poured this golden, molten gold fluid into me. And I realized that I was the one that took the egg and opened the egg up. But I was also the one that got the egg poured into her head. And I was also the egg. all this gold liquid just coming into me. So then I was dancing, singing Peter Pan songs all over the kitchen. And I don't even know where they came from. I don't even remember them. And then an hour later, I was still seeing the egg. The egg was cracked and this gold was just pouring. And I saw that all day long, all night long. But the next morning it was gone. But anyway, so I didn't feel anything coming into me, even though I was dancing around like a goon. And then an hour and a half later, I felt I felt me fill up with bliss. It was just like, there was the bliss that I thought would be with the gold, but they took their time to match. And I felt the bliss. And then I looked at my arms, because my arms and my body, my torso and my hips, they were all lively, and it felt like they were popping, like these zits were popping out, all the gunk that didn't belong. and so they were just bursting. And then the next morning, I woke up and I had like these chicken pox marks right where the zits were. So it was a crazy experience, but it was most amazing. I mean, it felt so good, and it was so pure. It was like I was all of it. There you have it.
That's beautiful, Sunny. I love those types of experiences because, I think everyone's so unique and everybody gets the exact precise experience they need. And just to talk about that a little more, it's so important to give the rasa a permission slip. Your permission slip, you're saying, yes, I want this. Give this to me. Open up. Let it be. Don't have skepticism. Let it go. Just be here when you get it. That's all that's required. Mm-hmm. And then, then it just does what it does to each of you somehow, very uniquely. And it's very beautiful. And thanks for sharing. I love those. I get there's just so much meaning behind your experience. From the whole thing was very precious. And what dawned on you is that you are all of it. You're the light. You're the egg. You're the zits. You're the this. You're the that. That's all just you.
Yeah. That's
I think the takeaway there, Sunny, is for everybody is the permission slip, the saying yes, and really. It's an internal thing, and that's what we see. The strength of the yes makes a big difference. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and
it's not only the strength of the yes that the person receiving the rasa gets, it's also the strength of the yes of the person's giving the rasa. It's the word that I use mostly, my favorite word, which is not faith or trust. It's certainty. Certainty. I have certainty in my process. I have certainty that this is going to make it work. I know you're going to wake up. You're awake. Mm-hmm. And when you have that certainty and that starts to develop in you, it will work for you in all areas of your life. Mm-hmm. It goes all the way back to biblical times when I just read the story once when Moses was parting the Red Sea and all the Egyptians were actually starting to drown in the ocean. And he looked up at God and he said, God, help me. Help me. And God said, why are you asking me? Where's your certainty that you can cross the Red Sea? Because we feel so limited. We feel there's nothing we can do. We're stuck. We can't make this happen. But it's the certainty in what's going on here. And that makes this process go a whole lot quicker.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hey, somebody else.
You're so cute, all of you. You really are. Just, there are so many familiar faces, so many people we speak to on a daily basis, a weekly basis. And it's such a gift that we've gotten to know so many of you so well. And just seeing this process uncover for each of you is just such a blessing. You're becoming more and more authentic, more and more real. You're saying it like it is. Your experiences do not always have to be pleasant. Truly, they just have to be human, authentic. It's about being authentic. This is what it is. Just being yourselves has always been good enough. Existence does not make mistakes. You're here because you are part of existence and perfect just the way you are. The mind is the doubt. The mind is that I'm not okay. The mind is there's something else to get here. Anyway, any other questions?
Okay, well, there's not a question. Then I'm going to talk about do nothing meditation for a moment, or is there a question all of a sudden?
Let's see. I have a question.
Okay, who is speaking?
This is Layla.
Layla. Okay.
Where's Layla? There she is.
You see her?
So
There's Layla. She's awesome.
Oh yeah, Layla.
Look at her smile.
Hi, Layla.
Layla's got the most beautiful smile.
thank you. I have a question about karma. How does karma influence your awakening process, and does it change with your level of consciousness? The effects of karma.
It's a pretty big question, Layla, but a very good question. You eventually what you come to is everything's a concept. But having said that, though, I often wonder what I believe, because I really don't believe anything I think anymore. So, we have this discussion often. I've often thought in the last 2 years, wow, maybe I was an axe murderer in the past life, because this kind of karma, this is just unbelievable.
Well, let me answer the question from an astrological point of view.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because
I'm
an astrologer. Okay, so there's actually lots of theories of karma, and so it's kind of like, which approach do you want to take? But we're very practical, and so I've done literally hundreds of charts, probably thousands of charts over the years, and I'm always interested in what actually happens in the person's life. So I do both Western astrology and Vedic astrology, and really what you see, with at least I'd say 80% accuracy and maybe more, is that the time and place and date of birth of that person reveals a blueprint for that person's life. And essentially it's a karmic blueprint. And you can even see, for example, when it is most likely that that person will awaken. You can see in the chart the likelihood. You see certain things that say they are likely to awaken. Like both Ananda and I have things in our chart that are classic in terms of a spiritual awakening. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have those things, but there are indicators. So what I'm saying is, to me, astrology says there is a karmic blueprint. Now, within that karmic blueprint, there is some wiggle room. So you're asking the question about consciousness, and so and its influence on karma. And that's a great question, because if karma just says, forget it, buddy, you have no options, we're just going to impose this, thing on you, that's, that kind of sucks. But what's really going on in terms of raising consciousness or higher consciousness? So somebody asked Ramana Maharshi, is there destiny and fate? And he said, yes. And then he said, so the person said, well, what's the point then? And Ramana said, listen, you could have the same exact thing happen to two different people. It could be a wonderful type of event, or it could be a very negative event, an accident, say, of some kind. One person will react in one way, another person will react in another way. Basically, the higher the consciousness, the more the room to make use of the same exact event in a different way. So a negative event for one person who's ready for it, who has the consciousness, could be the most beneficial, most transformational event ever. Yet on the outside, it could look like a very bad thing. For somebody else, that very same type of event could actually put them in a tailspin, and then they, get into drug addiction and all of that. So really, it's like we're given all these choice points or places where we can be awake and aware and be conscious and make the choice to be more conscious. And then the karma becomes extremely useful for awakening. And then once there's awakening, the direct understanding, the direct experience is that everything is spontaneous. Everything just happens. Everything is the will of God. Everything is the action of the universe without exception, moment by moment by moment. So then the concept of karma is what? So from the point of view of living enlightenment, karma is literally the work of God. It is simply what the universe is doing moment to moment to moment. It's not personal.
It's just not personal.
Somebody asked the Buddha, could you explain your teaching in, 25 words or less? And he said, if you really understand this teaching and you really live it, then the following three things are true of you. When you have an arising, whether it's positive, negative, or neutral, it is not me. It is not mine. And it is not about me. So if whatever arises is not me, not mine, and not about me, what does that say about karma? It says that karma is an impersonal process run by the universe, and our puny little brains are going to have trouble understanding it, So an intellectual understanding is not as useful as an experiential understanding that says, like we've been saying, let go, approve, accept, embrace, appreciate, allow, receive. This moment, and then this moment, and then this moment. It's all love in action ultimately, but you have to have the consciousness that is able to see that, perceive it, and receive it. So is that helpful?
Somewhat.
Yeah. So where's the hesitation there? Where's the but? Where's the but in this?
Okay, if I understand what you're saying, is then at a certain point, it's the universe, it's the movement of the universe. So it's not a personal karma. You don't have personal karma.
Well, I'm saying the karma is still happening to the person, but it's not taken in a personal way.
Okay.
It's basically how it's your perception that shifts.
Yeah, your karma is
happening.
different than my karma is different than her karma is different, So you understand that it's impersonal in the delivery of it, but it's like I live at a certain address, it's, it's being delivered to my address.
Right. So what about the concept of, okay, you can change karma?
Yeah, for example,
I agree with that.
I agree with that. We agree with that. That, for example, I give people Vedic planetary mantras, which I give them because I find they really can be helpful. For example, one couple had a legal dispute and used their mantra to resolve that, and they're very practical. So there are certain things like mantras that can definitely make a difference. Yeah.
Okay. So in this, what does the role of the law of cause and effect play then?
Well, the law of cause and effect is relative to the person and how they look at the universe. So to me, on the one hand, and in my daily life, I am, look at things as cause and effect. If I knock over a cup of coffee and it spills, I have to go clean it up and whatever. But at the level of the ultimate or the absolute or the here and now, the eternal now, there is no cause and effect. All there is this moment. And this moment is everything. This moment is the universe. And in my experience, the way I see this, there's a new universe in the next perceptible instant. It's actually a new universe. And this universe did not cause that universe. So it's absolutely fresh, alive, and new in an incredibly bold and vivacious and thrilling way. There's no cause, each universe looks almost the same, but yesterday's universe, this guy was just living on the street and all he had was $1 left, and he went in the liquor store and bought a lottery ticket, and then the universe tomorrow he wins the lottery and has $140 million. So, that's a different universe.
Right.
So really the point I'm wanting to make here is the freshness, the newness of each moment. You see, when you get involved in theories like karma, what that tends to do is kind of deflate the joy of being alive, being alive. You see, because you're going, oh my God, there's this big mega system controlling everything. No, it's not like that. That's only at a certain level, kind of an intermediate level. At the, you could say, ultimate level, no, it's not like that at all. It's just God is playing. God is having fun. And if you don't take it seriously, if you don't take death seriously, for example, where's the problem? You know, and basically people are afraid of dying. They're afraid of losing something they have. They're afraid. Let's remove fear.
What's the feeling, the fear of not existing?
Yeah, fear of annihilation. Let's take out the fear now. So really, what does it matter? I mean, karma means you're alive. You know, that's what it means. And then one last point is Swami Muktananda. Somebody asked Swami Muktananda about how they're having a really rough time in their life. And, you know, and he said, you ought to be dancing. You ought to be celebrating, because this means that karma is fulfilled and it's over with. So you don't have to worry about the future. It's already happened. So in other words, when you're having bad things happen, that's a time to celebrate, because good times are ahead.
That's what I meant about welcome it all into the guest house.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't try and make sense of it. The logic that you're trying to make is just, again, your mind going into some kind of a story about why is this happening? Should it be happening? It's just another concept, even karma. You know, what you get to is that it's just all stuff that we've either been taught or taught to believe, taught to understand. I mean, it's exhausting.
It's a good question, but it's an endless answer.
Well, no, what you're saying does make sense. What you're saying now does make sense to me, because I've always thought that cause and effect was valid to a certain point. Then after that, it wasn't, but I didn't have any proof of that.
The universe itself is a joyful miracle. The appearance of anything, all of this in this moment, how can you explain it? I mean, really, it is a self-arising, wonderful, magical miracle. That is what this is. And so as you grasp, as you enter into that contemplation, that way of viewing this moment, you know, then, you know, karma is actually the delivery of experience, essentially. And, you know, so thanks, but I want to, you know, make a, you know, like I say, we could go on and on. I mean, there's whole books written on this subject. So thank you very much for your question, Layla.
All right, thank
So
you.
it's really about have fun, no matter what. Enjoy this moment, no matter what. You know, this is it. So I'm glad that was helpful. All right, so let's, thanks, Layla. So let's just see if there's anybody else. Anybody else have a question? I'm sure that question was applied to a lot of people. A lot of people think about karma and wonder about it. So hopefully it was helpful. Well, all our people have dropped into silence. I think that's awesome.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, that is so cool. Well, okay, now I'm going to go ahead and do that, guide you guys in the do nothing meditation. Okay, so we're going to do a guided meditation now. Of course, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but if you want to, take a couple of minutes.
Oh, Ramaji, it looks like someone just raised their hand.
Oh, okay, good. See, anytime I start, then somebody asks a question. So that's a good approach. All right. Yeah. Who?
Pip.
Pip. Okay. Hi, Pip.
You can go ahead and unmute yourself. Or I'll unmute. There you go.
Thanks. My experience of rasa is that I don't seem to be doing it like you say, where I think about the non-self and I experience the non-self. For some reason, the rasa works in some kind of primordial way that changes everything inside. And I experience what you say, but I never get there by thinking about it.
Pip, Sometimes if you wear headphones, that helps with the feedback. But anyways, you can go on. Just
Put your thing up a little too towards you. How about I take this up? Does that help? No. Is that better?
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
Okay. All I said is that with the rasa's effect on me, it doesn't happen through an intellectual process. I don't think about it. I don't think about the non-self and then experience it. The rasa changes something inside, and then I experience it, and I hear what you say, and I think, oh yeah, that's that. You know, that's that experience. But I never get there on purpose.
Well, the whole thing is a relaxation into being. You already are that. So it's not about figuring anything out. It's not, I mean, everybody's here because they took action, they did sadhana, they had spiritual practice. And the rasa is, you know, coming in to finish the job, and it's the job you couldn't do yourself. So yeah, it's returning you to primordial being, which is beyond thought, beyond doing, and beyond concepts. Absolutely. Somehow it does it. We don't even know for sure how it does it, but the light comes down and the light changes your brain, turns your brain into light, and at the speed of light, anything is possible. So it's a gift. You know, it appeared in 2011 and it's a gift, but you're right. It actually transcends the mind, bypasses the mind, undermines the mind, enables you to go to where into yourself it is beyond the mind. That's exactly the point. You know, we sit here and talk, but we know that the real thing that's going to make a difference is the rasa, and that's because it's coming from beyond the mind. So, thank you.
Just practice radical acceptance.
Yeah, I like that. Radical acceptance.
Radical acceptance.
That's new. I like that a lot. Let's go for that. Radical acceptance.
Shake it up a bit. Forget it. Just radical acceptance of whatever is.
Radical acceptance of what is in each moment. Radical. I like that a lot. Okay, anybody else? Okay, I'm going to threaten to do the guided meditation again.
Oi.
Oi? But I want to. I really want to.
Do you?
I have a desire. A desire is arising.
Well, that's an arising, so we better let him do it.
I have an arising that is of desire to do the guided meditation. Okay, but that doesn't mean I'm actually going to do it, as you have seen. I think it arose twice, and then I got interrupted. So then the desire arose, but the action did not, you see. And of course, I could have said, hey, I want to do this thing, so just hold your question. But you see, I didn't do that. So you see how that works? Because I'm not here telling the moment what to do. The moment is doing what it does, and I'm enjoying it, kind of like sitting in the back of a limousine. You know, we got the VIP seat here, and we're sitting in the back of the limousine. We're not driving.
And I'm going to radically accept this guided meditation.
Okay, so here we go. So we call it do nothing meditation, or, you know, this is it meditation, you know, all the same basically. So as opposed to regular meditation, you're not going to meditate. But what you are going to do, and you can do it sitting or lying down, is just in each moment, just notice whatever happens. Don't try to improve it, change it, add to it. If it's like, let's say you have a thought and you don't like it, so there's a judgment thought, just let it all happen. Just let everything happen in that moment. But don't even let it happen. Just notice what happens. Just notice it. Okay, so we're going to do that. Just do that right now for a minute or two. And you can have your eyes open. You don't have to like sit in a special meditation, but just be here. And I'm telling you right now, there's a tendency to reject your now experience. So if you could become aware of that tendency, that'll be very useful to you. So just notice, are you in fact allowing and embracing in radical acceptance this moment exactly as it is? Positive, negative, neutral, good, bad, or ugly, or beautiful. Now ask yourself, is there anything wrong with this experience? Unless you think there is? Is it okay unless you think it's not okay? Or believe it's not okay for some reason? Like, let's say you get irritable, or you get mad, or you get sad, or some other emotion that's not bliss and love and peace. What if it's okay? What if it's 100% totally okay right now, exactly as it is? And if you have a thought that it's not okay, oh, I shouldn't be having this feeling, it's not spiritual, it shows that I'm falling backwards, I'm sliding backwards, I'm not making progress, whatever.
Radical acceptance.
Radical acceptance means you accept the judgment too. Just the criticism is fine. Nothing wrong with the criticism. See how that works? In our research, addiction's a big issue nowadays. And in our research, the biggest issue the real reason for the addiction is that the person is resisting the experience. They're judging their addiction. I've personally worked with people, and it's a controversial subject, but I worked with somebody who was a smoker that wanted to quit smoking. And he'd been to everything and everybody, and then came to me, and he said, well, I'm here to stop smoking. I said, oh, okay. Are you sure you want to stop smoking? He goes, well, yeah, of course I do, And I said, yeah, but why? What's wrong with it? He goes, well, I thought you were here to help me quit smoking. I says, well, before you quit smoking, let's find out if you really are smoking. So I said to him, I says, what is smoking? So I had him light a cigarette. And I had him do everything 10 times slower than he usually does it. Basically, after doing that with him, he became more mindful of the experience, and he realized that the addiction was based upon not actually enjoying cigarettes the way he used to enjoy them in the very beginning. So what happened with this particular person is that they still smoke, as far as I know, but they don't smoke like they used to. They have a few cigarettes and they really enjoy it. So what's that? What is that? You see, we're all going to die. We're all going to die. So what do we have? We have this moment. So if I knew this man was going to die tomorrow, which is entirely possible,
Smoke a box.
then smoke it up, buddy. Smoke it up, my friend. Live it up. And so what makes us think? What makes us so certain we're going to live another, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years? What if we lived like today is it? Then what would you do? What would you choose? What would you radically accept in your life? You see? So he was happy with that. It turned out he really wanted to smoke. And honestly, if he didn't really want to smoke, I think he would have stopped. And maybe he stopped now because it's been a while since I talked to him. But the point is not whether you smoke or not, drink or not, whatever or not. It is your awareness. It is your awareness in that moment, your total radical acceptance. And as many of you know, the famous guru Nisargadatta Maharaj smoked a lot and sold cigarettes for a living.
Who gives a shit whether you smoke or not? Just be yourselves. Whatever arises, do that.
Yeah. You know what I think?
It's all such crap. Bullshit. Most of the spiritual spiel is a big load of crap. That's our bullshit button.
So I get to be the bullshit generator today. Okay, so enough of that. Anybody have a question before we go to the rasa? Yeah, man, we're 5 minutes. We have left.
I have a quick question.
Yes, a quick question.
Yeah, hi. This is Karnik. Hey, hey guys. It's a very basic question. Is like one is I'll just say when Ananda talked about the scary part of the non-experience, you might say, that starts developing, that's the mind doesn't want to let go. There's definitely that phase that I feel like I'm going through, frankly. But so my thing is, okay, so I can get past that. So the thing is, I'm curious why 20 minutes is the time for a rasa. I mean, we're sort of filling the time here. What if it was half an hour or 45 minutes? I mean, would the system overload, or would that be fatiguing for you guys? Or, I mean, that's just like, just a mundane question.
I just think, you know, it's kind of funny when we give the rasa, Karnik. Sometimes I go over time and sometimes a little bit under time. It's almost like you feel when it's enough.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's an intuitive knowing when it's time to end the rasa. You know, I don't know how that happens, but you just know it. And it's more often than not, he and I will experience it at the same time. It's fun, you know. As far as when we do our one-on-one sessions is concerned, we want to be able to connect on a personal level and help you guys with some words because it's necessary, and then give you the rasa. So we just spread out our time that it makes the most sense. In a group like this, we do it for longer because there's just more of you. But ultimately, we're intuiting how long.
Yeah. Also, that's right.
I am.
Also, the rasa involves several things. You know, there's a sequence, and so we have to have time for everything that we're going to do. But I think I mean, it's really just been an intuitive thing. It just turned out to be 15 minutes for the one-on-one, 20 minutes for the group, and we find it's sort of we want to take as much time as we need, but not more time than we need. I think that's what it boils down to. And that's how we ended up with 20 minutes versus 30 minutes. 20 minutes enables us to do everything for everybody, but not go any longer than necessary, you know.
Good. Yeah. Thanks. By the way, that your comments about karma were perfect, I thought. I liked, I mean, it made it pretty clear to me anyway. Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. That is one heck of a subject, you know.
Yeah.
Subject, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that had me working.
Yeah, but it's you did. Yeah, I thought it was good anyway. So
thank you. Well, I was happy with it. You know, it's a tough.
That's right.
Question.
You're happy with it anyway.
Well, it's a multi-level question. It depends on who's asking the question and where they're at.
Exactly.
And you know, there's nothing wrong with the attitude of going for it. You know, just do it. You know. I can achieve anything. I can, you know, climb Mount Everest if I want. I mean, that's fantastic. See, that's the joke. The paradox is karma is not in the way of that. We really, it supports that. We really, ideally, as human beings, aspire to greatness. We would love for all human beings to aspire to greatness, to be the best and just the best self, best human being they can be.
And how do you do that? Actually, you follow your bliss.
You follow your bliss, you follow your excitement, you follow that which turns you on, and that actually enables you to maximize your best karma because you're always choosing that which is life and joy enhancing. So it's like tuning into a station. The station of happiness and the station of radical acceptance and be here now. And then you just get on that frequency all the time. And actually by living more consciously, especially, you know, once
awaken, sort of, you know, as the attention goes to it, it becomes greater, then it rolls over like a snowball. It gets greater and
much
greater.
of the karma that people talk about as negative karma is the fixation on the resistance, the sense of problem. So when attention opens up and blossoms like a flower, then your whole relationship to everything that's happening changes. And so that's it. So, you know, yeah, you know, it's crazy.
When you practice radical acceptance, it just comes and goes.
All right, radical acceptance, the new byword. We got it,
our
man.
new mantra.
That's it, dude.
Yeah, radical acceptance.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Karna.
Look forward to the rasa.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready for the rasa now?
Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go use the restroom. So anybody else that needs to do that, so it'll be about 2 minutes. I'll be
I
right
think
back.
I'm also going to use the restroom.
You are too?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So after we come back, we'll do the rasa, which will be 20 minutes in silence.
Sorry.
It's all right. I don't think there's another one.
Now I think everybody has to do something before the rasa, right?
Like what?
Didn't Kate tell them to do something?
Oh, well, I think everybody's muted. Oh, yeah, make sure you're visible on your screen. We would like to be able to see you in order to give you rasa.
Yeah, so if your video is off, you want to turn your video on by just clicking on the video icon, lower left-hand corner of your screen.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't do that or don't want to do it, it's okay. You'll still get the rasa, but we just prefer, you know, human being to human being to be able to see you. We think maybe it's a little better, but you'll still get it either way.
You know, guys, if you stick to this, you will awaken. Just so you know.
Okay, so it's 20 minutes in silence with eyes closed. Just be relaxed and receptive, like you're getting a massage or getting a suntan on the beach. Okay, here we go. 20 minutes in silence, eyes closed.
Okay, everyone. That was today's rasa.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank both of you, Ramaji and
Yeah.
Ananda.
Thanks, Kelly.
You will. Thanks. And Kelly, thank you for helping us
Yeah,
today.
you did a great job.
We know Kate was not
Awesome
there.
job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks everybody. Great questions as usual. Great silence as usual. So we got one more next Saturday, same time, same place, same link. Okay, I think that's it. Ramaji.org if you're interested, and you know, Open Circle does a great job. So we really appreciate everything they're doing and all the other good teachers they have. Everybody's top shelf, excellent teachers. So please support them. Please support Open Circle.
Awesome. All right, we'll see you all next time.
Yeah, so if
See
you
you all
have some
next
time
time.
right now, you know, sit quietly a little bit or lay down quietly a little bit.
Yeah, I would recommend sit for 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you so much, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Yeah.